Hi, intuitive viewers. Welcome. I have a friend with me today. I
Hi.
want to introduce you to Marci Baron. Hi, Marci.
Hi.
Hi. Marci is an energy healer. She's a Reiki master, past life regression practitioner, and holds a dual Masters of Science in Education. So lots of achievements, Marci. You're making me look bad.
Oh, life, that I feel like that like the only relevance to my education, dual masters in education, is that now I'm able to teach, and
Right.
that's what I love. And I teach a curriculum that is, I just think, so important.
Well, great. And we're going to talk about all this stuff that you're doing now. And I want to kind of backtrack so people can get to know you just a little bit and kind of hear your story, because I think it's fascinating and it's very relatable. Because you said that you thought that for 30 years, which is a long time, you were doing what you thought you were supposed to do.
Hmm.
And you kept hearing whispers, um, because you talk about it as being a whisper because you weren't living your soul's desire. And what what form did that whisper take? How did that manifest? What was it? A things not going right? Was it something just inside telling you you're not on your path? What was it that was kind of speaking to you?
That's a beautiful question. And I think it's such a common thing for, especially for women, to ignore their intuition, to ignore what they feel they should be doing as opposed to what they should be doing. And a lot of it came as like following the path that we think we should go. For me, it was constantly knowing what I wanted, hearing my intuition, but then not trusting her guidance. And I look at intuition that, like that inner vision, but then the trusting is like a miner's headlamp that like lights your path. And for me, I knew that what I wasn't doing wasn't exactly where I wanted to be and go. Even getting that dual master's in education, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it was what I should be. So I always feel like the universe like taps you on the shoulder. It's like, hello, hello, are you paying attention? And for me, it wasn't until I had really difficult time in my life where I will say it was the loss of my child that caused me to look up, look in, and wake up. I was so in so much grief and in so much pain. I had a micro preemie infant that was born at 25 weeks, and he lived for 8 weeks in the NICU, and his name was Benjamin. And it was through that greatest pain, through that greatest tragedy, that finally, when it was like the whispers, I wasn't listening to the whispers. It was the 2x4 across my head and then the hole in my heart that literally caused me to go into, a depression and question why is this happening to me? And I went into a deep victim mode, and I didn't see how I was going to get out of it. And and it caused me to literally look up and say, like, totally surrender, totally um, realize that I could either go into a spiral or make lemonade out of lemons, if you will, right? And see how I could turn my wounds into wisdom, how I could make this terrible tragedy mean something, if you
And
will.
I'm so sorry about your little baby. And
Yeah.
every parent that is listening just knows
Yeah.
it's, that kind of pain. Um, you're right. When you can get up from something like that, um, yeah, that really is amazing. And it is, you're right. There is something else, a higher power at work there, because how do you get up from that? And you, and speaking of those things, because my awakening, or kind of awakening to this path, was after a couple of deaths as well. And why do you think that um, we awaken spiritually at our lowest points? Because we work and work and work for spirituality, before this kind of thing happens, and but then something like that happens, and we find a depth of spirituality that we didn't get before, until we reach those kind of um, most difficult, most profound moments in our lives. So what do you think happens there? Or what do you think that is? Why is that we find, we awaken in those moments? What is it about that?
I think it's through the most gut-wrenching pain where we don't think that we could go on, and then there's a moment of grace. And there's a moment of hope, or a sign, or something that changes, where and I say this word, remember. It's we awaken, but it's really a remembering. It's a gathering of the parts of ourselves that we lost. It's a reawakening to remember who we are as souls. It's not anything that's lost or found. It's just a remembering. It's like the veil lifts. And for me,
Right.
it was right. It was like an incredible moment where I was in a lot of emotional pain, and the someone told me to go. I went to see this medium, and she came through, and again, I'm like searching for answers. And now I have two young children at home, so I have two children on this earth after my oldest passed. And my marriage was falling apart due to the death of my
Mhm.
son, and then having two very young children. And the medium says to me, she's like, there's a boy here, your boy, your son. Bah, bah, bah. And I'm like, Benjamin. And I burst into tears. And she said, you hold so much guilt for his passing, because I developed severe preeclampsia. He was a healthy baby, and they delivered him to save my life.
Mm.
She's like, you have so much guilt for his passing. And she says to me, he advanced his soul by dying. And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? Right? I was like, you have a choice? There's a choice here? What are you talking about? And she confirmed he was in heaven with my nana, and she used the word nana, and her name, she used the name Rebecca, which was her given name, where she changed her name. And my head was spinning. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? But what's so interesting, Kim, is when I was in college, I would I went to the University of Vermont. I did a holistic health class where we did a shamanic journey to drums, and I met my spirit animal of a deer. I was astral projecting and leaving my body and traveling out into the cosmos. I had just forgotten all of that essence of me.
Right.
And then, like I said, I went into like the whole, what we should be doing. And then for me, I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, this makes sense. And I just went, like, in that moment, I just have to say my heart completely healed. I was like, I felt like the gaping hole in my heart sealed up, and I was just like, wow. And in that session, she said, you need to start doing energy healing work. Start healing your energy. And I was like, okay, what is that? again, me being a teacher, I went for healing sessions for myself, but then I started to go for the trainings. And I was like, oh, I've been doing this for lifetimes. This is a remembering for me. And
Right.
it again, it took my deepest pain and a moment of grace of saying, this is all for me instead of happening to me. And in one moment, that victim mentality can just turn. It can turn in a moment of compassion, curiosity, and grace. And and that's a big part of what I teach, of what anybody's going through. Any symptoms, any circumstance, it becomes a um, a chance to truly awaken to who we are.
And it's so interesting because it made me think as an energy healer, what happens to people, what happens to their energy when they do what you did for 30 years, kind of do what you think you're supposed to do, kind of sleepwalking through life in a way. What happens to their energy when they do that, when they fall into that kind of earthly, doldrum, going to work and getting up and not really, connecting with their spirit in any way? What happens to their energy?
It becomes very constricted and very dense and heavy. So I tell people everyone's carrying a 20-pound energetic backpack of crap around. And just like we brush our teeth and wash our hair and take showers and bathe every day, hopefully, if we're not taking care of our energetic hygiene, it builds up, it's heavy, it's dense, and I know you're very attuned to energy, but even if you're not, people, you walk into a room and you feel light and expansive, people are like, wow, ooh, there's like a radiance to it. And conversely, if someone walks in and they have that heaviness, they're sleepwalking through life, they're not taking care of their energetic hygiene, which is something I'm passionate about teaching and working and clearing and all of that. It's like, there's a restriction. And what happens, it's Groundhog's Day over and over and over
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
And what I find interesting is Eastern medicine and traditional civilizations and traditional um cultures, if you will, they blend the body, mind, and spirit. It was not it was completely interwoven. In Western medicine, there's no mind, body, spirit unless you go to a holistic practitioner, some sort of functional doctor that's literally paying attention to that. Um, right? In traditional cultures, they would go see the shaman,
Right.
and the shaman would support what was going on the spiritual, because again, I believe all symptoms show up as a result of some sort of spiritual, if you will, or spiritual emotional connection, right? Like the work of Louise Hay.
Hmm.
She talks
Right.
about that a lot. Yeah.
So weird. I mean, literally, I just got out her book today. It's so weird you say that, but that's
Yeah,
it's how this stuff works, right? It's like
of
there's
course.
no coincidences, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you knew on some level. Yeah. And if you
And
go
yeah,
in through
okay.
those symptoms, it's here to give you a lesson. It's here to teach you. It's here to show you some sort of place where you're constricted, right? The dis-ease, and where you
Hmm.
can expand, and how you can go in and and shift like that.
Right. That's yeah. I mean, it must be amazing. I mean, to do this work because y- you probably see people transform before your eyes come
Yeah.
in one way, leave another, because that kind of work is so transformative, I think. Um,
Yes.
especially when people are really stuck, when they're really stuck in this, doing one thing day after day after day, and then something comes in and it's something, different that just kind of, wakes them up.
Yeah. And the
Must be
energy,
amazing.
thank you. It is. It's amazing to witness because the energetic signature is the first and easiest and lightest thing to shift. Everyone's so stuck in their mind. They've got like this, the programming and the ego, which is, like edging God out and like
Mhm.
the stories, the emotions. Everybody's so uncomfortable. Like it's so uncomfortable for people to feel things, but emotions literally means energy in motion. And then, of course, the physical is the densest. The energetic, the etheric, where I work, is if you can shift something in there, then the rest can follow. It's like, you move it and then it creates the vacuum for
Uh,
everything else to
right.
go. And what I'm really good at helping my clients see is the big picture. So I'm able to be presented with, okay, this is what's going on. And then I'm able to help them understand where the split on their timeline was, whether it was in their inner child, with their, or, some point on their timeline, but often they set it up in a past life. They set it up to come in to this life with a contract to say, okay, I'm going to heal that. So, of course, there's going to be a break on their timeline at some point in their life where, let's
Mhm.
say, right, someone comes in with self-esteem and they're having confidence and, worthiness and all of that common, solar plexus chakra stuff.
Mhm.
And then something happened in childhood that I call it's like an energetic gut punch. It's like, whoo, right in the solar plexus, right? A well-meaning
Right.
parent or a teacher or someone says something and it's like, whoo, and then it becomes the belief, right? So they believe it about themselves. So there's a moment on their timeline where that split happens, where they don't feel confident, they don't feel worthy or good enough. However, I love doing the past life regressions where we can go back to the genesis of it. When did this
Mhm.
really start? How did that, how did you set that up? And that's really what we've done.
Right.
That's the remembering. It's like this is a simulation. We're really just light.
Right, right. And and I think it's so interesting because I never thought of it like that, but it would, I guess, um at least if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is when we have a past life where we had, whatever, we self-love, we didn't have any self-love, those things have to be, because they're earthly things and human things, they have to be worked out here. So
Yes,
they, is that right? Is that what you're saying? And
exactly.
so
Yeah.
they can repeat and repeat until we get it.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Life is a one-room schoolhouse where we're all learning the lessons of our souls. And we come into these dense bodies for the polarity. We come into these dense bodies to have those experiences that we don't have when we're light. Because when we're light, we know exactly who we are.
Right.
And, right? But it's like, okay, so how do I come and learn self-love? How do I come and learn, um, you know, self-esteem? And what I tell people is if you can look at your most difficult relationships as your most treasured teachers, like it's hard when you're in it. It's hard when you're in the pain. If you would have told me in the deepest barrel of my grief that my son dying would be the most transformative thing that would ever happen to me, I wouldn't have believed you. Um, and it was just I needed to feel that grief. I needed to go through that pain. I needed to, mourn the loss of my son. Now I'm at the point where when I'm in challenges, is I'm able to see it, the opportunity in it as it's happening. And that it takes, you know, a lot of, like, of course I might be angry, I might be sad, but I let myself feel that. And so many of us are told as kids, you know, stop. I was told, stop being so emotional, stop
Mm,
crying, you know what I mean? And
mhm.
I would like, right? And what I say is when we don't feel it, it's like a clogged up toilet. It
Right.
doesn't, it doesn't come out, it goes in, and right, it's like, so the issues are in the tissues, and it becomes crystallized as energy and dense. So all of those pains, and like, I do a lot of somatic work with clients too. So if we're working on something, I say, okay, now tune into your body, where do you feel that? And then they're like, oh my God, I can't believe that's where my neck, what, the belief or the trauma where my neck pain sits. So it just becomes this like realization of, yes, it's like the combo. It's like, you know, it's energetic, it's emotional, it's physical. There are
Right.
beliefs and thoughts that you have, and it all comes as crystallized energy. And if I can help people, you know, unwind it, and I feel like I pull out the string,
Hmm.
um, it ultimately, and I call all of these things um, spiritual flu. It's literally a a way where all of the things that you're feeling it's an invitation for you to awaken to your multidimensional existence. It's an invitation to get curious about your mind, body, and spirit connection. And it literally, if you could go in through anything you're experiencing, whether it's something in your career or with your relationship or something physical, it literally provides the portal or a doorway, if you will, to embody your spiritual self. And when I say embody, I mean literally your spirit is not somewhere out there, but become the your spirit literally to fully embody into the physical form, that you are whole and holy. You are the bridge between heaven and earth. You get to live because, like you said, we're human. We're here.
Hmm.
We're not ascending into higher states of consciousness and going into beams of light. That's not what's happening. We're
Right.
literally here to live this existence. And despite what, you know, all of this pain and suffering and all of this stuff that's coming up on the planet, is we get to live a life through joy, happiness, gratitude, peace, calm, and ease. And that's hard when you're in
Yeah.
it. That's hard for a lot of people when they're in it and they don't see that hope. But again, if there's just a little bit of hope, a little bit of grace, a little bit of curiosity and compassion and a willingness, it can shift. And I have been able to see that the miracles that of what we see as miracles for people to you know to shift.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It is a miracle. I mean, though, and the way that you explain it, I mean, yeah, it's transformative, right? And I wanted to ask you about something, because I know nothing about this, like the work that you do. I'm
Yeah.
complete, but I get I get messages from my guides. I do readings, and I've gotten the message countless times when people have had a physical ailment or illness. I've gotten the message that they need to, and so I want to ask you about. I've gotten the message that they need to get back into their body
Yeah.
and almost become one with the pain,
Mhm.
um, and kind of go into it. And
Yes.
there, and my guys would always say that people have a tendency, when they have pain in their body, to kind of try to remove themselves from it. It's like they back away from it and they get almost disassociated with their own body because they're in pain. So is that correct? Because
Yeah.
yeah, because I've gotten that message over and over and over again. And it's kind of like, if you can't be one with your body, you can't know what it needs or you can't know what it wants. And so you need to get in there and ask it kind of, what do you need? What do you want? So
Right.
yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion on that because I've
Yeah.
gotten up so many times and I'm like, that's weird. I've never thought, that's such an interesting message. So
Yeah, I would completely agree with that because the thing is nobody wants to dive deep into the discomfort. Nobody, everyone wants to push it away. I just want it to go away. I just want it to go away. I just want it to go away. But what I can help people and support in their healing, or what I would encourage everybody listening, is go into it. If you could ask your symptoms, and this is amazing. I one of the courses I created this course called I wrote an ebook that's free about diagnosing and understanding your spiritual flu, and then I created an e-course about healing your spiritual flu, where one of the modalities, or sorry, one of the modules in the course is holding space for your symptom without pushing it away,
mm,
and going in and asking it questions. Why are you here? What is it that you want to tell me and show me? And if you do that, and like you said, go deep into it, get intimate with it, get to know it, it just wants to be seen, heard, and recognized, and then a message will come through, and then you can, course correct, if you will.
right. And because that's the thing, right? It's not the realization may it be instantaneous, but the actual getting better, it may take a little time, but that's the beginning, right? It's like you've unlocked a key or you've unlocked the lock, and
That's it.
then you can start to move in the opposite direction of where you're going, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's it. I love that analogy. You unlock the key and then you're just like, "Oh, okay." And you sort through this. I've been working with a woman who's had tinnitus, the ringing of the
Oh yes.
ears,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, it's really uncomfortable. But what she's found is she's like in between the radio dial. Like she's not quite on the energetic frequency of where she was, and she's like moving up in her vibrational
Uh-huh.
frequency, getting a higher, finer, quicker, and the ringing is like there's a part of her that's resisting it. There's a part of
Oh,
her, right?
interesting.
Like she's not tuned to that dial where it's clear. And it's like I say with the ringing of the ears, it's like, that's indicative of an altitude change, right? It's like you're going up the mountain, you feel it in your ears
Yeah.
first, you go on an
Yeah.
airplane, right? So she's trying to move up in her frequency, but there's fear there. And so every time we go into the hum, she just wants, like, I just want it to go away, and I get
Of
that.
course.
Right? Any of us that have had any chronic things or have lasted a long time, again, it's having a lot of compassion and a lot of curiosity. So many of us judge it, so many of us push it away. Um, and it's just here trying to, like you said, get intimate with it, dive deep into it.
Right. Um, and that brings me to, and I'm glad you mentioned the tinnitus, because I wanted to ask you about a therapy that you do, which is sound therapy.
Yes.
And that is another one that I found so interesting because I've got message from my guide saying that sound therapy it's going to be kind of used in the future of medicine. It's
Mhm.
kind of beginning, now, but it's going to be like become um, wonderful to use for it's almost like they'll be using like when it comes across to me, it's almost like they'll be using like sound and almost like vibration
Right.
treatments or something,
Yes.
but it will be kind of groundbreaking in things that um some chronic, like chronic fatigue and stuff like that, that'll be kind of used in things like that where I can't think of the word, autoimmune, like autoimmune
Yes,
diseases
yes,
and things,
yes.
that'll be really effective for that. And that's coming. But tell me about what sound therapy is and why it works.
So sound therapy is using sound
Right.
to reorganize cellular structure, literally.
Mhm.
And again, ancients have known this forever. But again, this is something that people are realizing. Like I have right here, it's a crystal pyramid.
Mhm.
And if I strike it and spin it, it sends healing frequencies. Can you feel that?
I can feel, actually, I can feel it here
Yeah,
for whatever reason, whatever that says about me, but I can feel
yeah,
it like in my throat
yeah,
chakra.
yeah. And it has two pitches
Yeah,
so I could even go in a higher tone.
that is so weird. Now I'm feeling it up here. That's so strange. That is
Yeah,
so interesting.
yeah. And then I've got crystal bowls and drums and here's I have tuning forks. So this is theta. So theta, as you know, if you do, maybe not anyone listening, is the brainwave where we are in that meditative state. So it's the state where we feel the most refreshed. It's where reprogramming can happen. So, for example, if I bring someone into a theta state, and you can listen, these are brain tuners, and then I say affirmations, it's
Uh-huh.
literally reprogramming your subconscious mind.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then,
That is amazing. Yeah.
yeah, and I've got, I use a drum. Drumming is very, very tribal.
Yeah.
It can bring people into a deep state of, meditation. And I work with people all over the world. That's the beautiful thing. You know, when you work with someone's energy, we set a container where your guides, my guides, your angels, my angels, and I just become the conduit. I just completely surrender to, what's for the highest good and highest healing. So the sounds, as you could feel it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
really cool. I mean, really, I
yeah,
mean, yeah, that's amazing. I didn't expect to, like, through Zoom,
right,
you don't
right.
expect to feel, you don't expect to feel it the same way, but yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, so lastly, this has been so fun, Marcy, but I want to ask you, and I'm going to be asking kind of every guest and you're the first one to answer, but I'm going to be
Woo!
asking every guest, woo, what I got a message again from my guides saying this is next year. We need to really get grounded and find our center because, and just tells me like the world's going to be rocking. So we need to, make sure we know where this is. And so what do you do to get grounded, to find your center? What are the things you do for yourself?
The first thing is taking 5 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. When we breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, it sends a calming response to our nervous system. We get out of fight or flight and we get into rest and repair. So it literally calms our nervous system. It lets us be less reactive and more responsive. So if anybody's in a moment, or I'm in a moment, as you're asking me, I take 5 deep breaths.
Right.
And then I get into nature. And I put my feet out on my grass, I go next to a tree, and I feel the support of the tree. And if I really feel ungrounded, then I'll really take myself into nature. I live on Long Island, so I'll go into the forest, I'll go down to the beach by the ocean, and nature is what grounds me. And that's why we've gotten so away from being grounded. We're on these screens, we're in isolation in our homes. And anytime, if you could ever get to any, even if you live in a big city, go sit in a park, put your back up against the tree, um, go to a pond or a lake or the river, wherever. It is the most grounding thing that you can do is to connect with nature, because then you are tuning into the heartbeat, the Schumann resonance, it's called, of Earth.
Right. That's beautiful.
Thank
Well,
you.
Marci, where can people find you if they want to uh, use your services and find out about you? And I mean, your website is gorgeous. I have to say, it's the most beautiful website. I'm like, oh my gosh, do I need to upgrade my website? Because
I
it
have
really is gorgeous. It's a beautiful website.
Thank you. I literally just redid it so that it would be just very clear. And my website is the place, marcibaronclears.com. So it's MarciBaron, clears, CLEARS.com. And everything is there. Services, the ebook I spoke about. I have a 5 minute, I'm sorry, a 5 minute energy cleanse that's free, so people
Oh,
can do the
wow.
energy cleanse at night. Like I said, like you can listen to me guide a meditation, that's free. The spiritual flu e-course, services, retreats, all the things that I do. I wrote a book, lots of all the things. That's where everybody could find me. And I guess from there they could, you know, find me on Instagram and all the places. Everything is in one place, as you saw. I needed to get organized and clear. It's like if I'm
Right.
right, for me, it's like I'm very much about no clutter and clarity, and it just makes me feel the most aligned and grounded.
Right, and grounded, exactly. And I thank you so much, Marcy. This has been a delight. I knew you'd be a delight. And I love your Long Island accent.
You, I know, isn't it great? Thank
It
you.
is great.
I know, I love it too. It's a part of what I've lived here. There've been many years that a couple of years, well, I should say maybe 5.5 years that I haven't lived here, but out of most of my years I've lived here, and it is people love it too. It's a fun and endearing quality.
It is. It is. Yeah, don't lose it. Don't lose it.
Thank you. Thank you
Right.
so much for
Thank you,
having
Marcy.
me.
You're so welcome anytime. Thank you, intuitive viewers. We'll see you next time.